Book your wedding day with us. Salon DNA, 415-956-1909.
Hello, I'm Claudia Iseman, and welcome to California Up Now. This show is dedicated to the news and the people that make our Golden State great. Our guest today is legal and political analyst for KPIX 5, Melissa Caen. Thanks for coming, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Now, we're going to be talking about the gay pride celebrations in San Francisco in the wake of the horrible tragedy in Orlando. Recently, there was an attempt to sort of quash the celebrations in San Francisco, a legal attempt. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So the attempt was on its face an attempt to get SF Pride to implement a number of security measures that were actually recommended back in 2013. You guys might remember there were two shootings back in 2013, and right after that, the San Francisco Police Department came out with a number of suggestions. And basically, they said, you know, what you should do is sort of corral everyone and set up metal detectors so people can have to go through them to get in, institute bag checks, things like that. And those suggestions were never implemented. And so what this plaintiff's attorney in this case was trying to do was to force SF Pride to implement all of those measures here like a week before Pride Day. Now, for the folks from SF Pride, they said if we tried to do that, it would be both cost prohibitive and just sort of operationally not possible. You're effectively stopping the celebration by trying to force these measures. The judge, in a tentative ruling, said, "You're right, SF Pride, I'm not going to get involved in this." But we haven't gotten a final ruling yet, but it does not look good for the plaintiff's attorney. It looks like Pride is going to proceed as planned.
Okay, well, now we have a video from Sam Singer. He's a spokesperson from SF Pride, and he talks about those extra security measures and the lawsuit.
There may be between now and Parade Day some additional security measures that occur. But right at the moment, there will be simply additional police presence, and there will be a lot of things that the public won't see that's going on in terms of providing security for them and public safety issues. Most importantly, we want the public to know that this is a safe event. We provide crowd control, SFPD will be there, and that it's very important for the LGBT community as well as their supporters and friends to come and show solidarity, to come and memorialize those who lost their lives, and also to experience the joy of being part of the LGBT community here and around the world.
What is your reaction to Sam Singer? What do you think?
Well, look, whether or not the shooting in 2015, which led to this plaintiff's attorney taking the case, it has anything to do with Pride is a question of fact. I'm not entirely sure. I think the plaintiff's attorney would say it was directly related to the Pride celebration. So I understand he's speaking for his client. Having said that, to some degree, the Pride celebration in San Francisco is no different from the Beta Breaker celebration, from the World Series parades, where you set up the barricades, you have an increased police presence, and that is what's required to keep the peace, and it has worked so far. Now, of course, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking, is that sufficient in light of the attacks in Orlando and the audience and the group, the participants at the SF Pride Parade? That's going to be a decision people have to make for themselves. We do know that in LA, for example, there have been the turnout seemed depressed this year and smaller than in years past, potentially because people are fearful that not enough security, or maybe there is not enough security imaginable in the world to sort of stop someone who's trying to plan an attack.
Okay, well, let's go now to the spokesperson for SFPD, Grace Gadapan, and she talks about what they are going to be implementing on the parade day.
We are expecting a lot of people to be here, and officers will be on the lookout for any people that are involved in illegal activity that will cause violence or endanger the safety of people that are participating in these events. San Francisco is very familiar with different parades and different events that attract a large amount of people, such as Super Bowl 50, such as the different parades that go on, the World Series parades. So this is not our first ball game.
Now, what do you think about Grace's reaction that, hey, we're old hands at this. We've dealt with it many times before. They seem to feel very confident.
And again, they've got a good track record of handling large events, the Folsom Street Fair, again, large parades, large things that happen in the city all the time. But I think for some people, they say, you know what, it's not sufficient anymore. We see that, that there's a heightened level of security that should be required for an LGBT event because of, the potential danger out there. And so, look, that's the plaintiff's attorney says this is fundamentally different. According to the plaintiff's attorney in this case, they've had shootings every year for 5 years and at or near the gay pride parade. And he says, sort of we got to start putting our arms around this. So the judge said no. And part of that had to do with how close to pride this was filed. They said, you waited too long. You should have done this a year ago. Why did you wait? Now it's just basically impossible to do. So whether now these concerns might come up again after this year's Pride Parade, if something were to happen, we might see that in the 2017 Pride Parade, for example, it might look a little different from a security standpoint.
So does this leave the city of San Francisco and Gay Pride open to lawsuits in the event that something terrible does happen?
Well, I mean, you've got the situation where Pride is on alert, right? Remember, back in 2013, the San Francisco Police Department said, these are the things that you should do to be super safe, and they haven't done them. And so, yes, they are open to these lawsuits. They're very, very difficult to prove, though. Remember, it's hard to say that some person in an alley off the Pride route shooting someone is the responsibility, could have been foreseen by the parade sponsors themselves. So it's still a difficult haul for any plaintiff's attorney to try to make, but certainly you might see more people stepping forward and saying, you've known about this, you've known what you had to do to fix it, and you didn't do anything. We want to at least try to bring lawsuits on that basis.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit now. What do we need to prevent this? More gun control?
Well, I mean, that's that's up to our legislators, and I think a lot of people agree. I think polls show a majority of people agree that reasonable measures would be a really good idea. But look, there are people who already legally own a lot of guns. There are millions of guns already owned today, so you could put gun control in place and it might not stop necessarily someone who already has a gun from doing something in the future. So it's not, a gun control I think is one of maybe many measures that need to be in place that are being considered by our lawmakers.
Well, in fact, there are several bills now coming to the state, to the Senate. What do you think about those? Do you think that they have a better chance, sadly, because of what happened in Orlando?
There certainly does seem to be a groundswell of political will to get these things moving at this point. In California, a lot of the bills that are being considered right now have been considered before, but they were unsuccessful. And so right now it seems like, they're sort of striking while the iron is really hot and trying to push them through once more to, while everyone's sort of paying attention and feeling the pressure of the need to rein in some of these gun issues. And I'll give you an example. In California, we have an automatic weapons ban, right? And yet the San Bernardino shooter was able to buy an automatic weapon and then sort of convert it into something that can shoot a series of bullets using a sort of add-on technology. And so one of the bills being considered would outlaw that add-on technology so that our automatic weapons ban would be a sort of more real for the people in California. So that's an example of a bill that hasn't been able to get traction, but suddenly there seems to be some support for it. It doesn't mean it'll necessarily pass, but it's a better time now, again, sadly, than before.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us today, and we appreciate you coming in and having our conversation. Remember, if you have a question, leave a comment on our Facebook page, or you can email us at tips@newsupnow.com. Until next week, stay safe during this week's celebration. Thank you for watching California Up Now.